Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today, inspired by Tatiana Maslany's supposed firing from She-Hulk, we have the hope against hope. The, oh no, now she knows she's fired because I'm trying to help her. Before I tried to help her, she did not know that she was fired. But once I tried to help her, now she's like, I might actually be fired from this job. I don't know if she cares. I tried to watch Tatiana Maslany in the movie Keeper because the commercial showed two different perspectives, both showing the same thing, but from two different perspectives, making it a different reality. The commercial for the horror movie Keeper. I liked it. I was like, oh, both the boy thinks that the girl is a keeper, but she's a monster, and the girl thinks that the boy is a keeper, but he's a monster, or something like that. I tried to watch it, I couldn't watch it. So, this is inspired by Tatiana Maslany's, both, not her performance as She-Hulk, because I didn't really see her performance as She-Hulk, but the portrayal, which is not really her performance, it's a team effort, the writer, the director, the showrunner, etc., the budget. So, in order to explain to you She-Hulk, I have to start with this strange question that we had in the 80s and 90s, and the question was, why do tall, beautiful, blonde women like Woody Allen? And this was a curiosity for me. Or why do beautiful European women like Meg Ryan like New York Jews? What's this New York Jews situation in the movies and such? What's going on? Why are these movies showing tall, beautiful, blonde women with these hobbit, gremlin, goblin, troll, elf angels? Because they're mixed. And this is the theory that I came up with from observation of socioeconomic events. So, the blonde woman, the blonde girl, she finds out that she can have anything that she wants, and she flies all around the world having all of the things that she would like. Now, I'm not a very good public speaker because I'm not actually a very good... I don't explain things to my dad very well because I explain things like a meal. I put the most unpalatable things first. I'm like, let's get this over with. And then I turn off the audience and they can't think or listen. Like it's a food. Like, here, take the nasty stuff first. But this time I started with something a little bit more relatable. So here's something that's a little bit less palatable. So when you go to the edges of the empire, you learn something that's kind of counterintuitive. And what you learn is that in a place where you let the women decide who gets to have babies, not against their will, or just, who's the more influential, the more influential. Everything should be 50-50, but let's leave that for the suicidal perfectionists and tell them to go. Tell the suicidal perfectionists, DIY. So when you go to the edges of the patriarchy, when you go to the edges of the empire, where the women decide who get to have babies, you find that people have a face that looks like a weapon. Because all things being equal, the woman says that the man who has a job should have children. And in the workplace, the man who's in charge of the workplace, all things being equal, the man who's the foreman, he's the foreman because his face is intimidating. So when you go to the edges of the empire, where women decide almost exclusively who gets to have babies, you see people who have faces that look like Native American tomahawks or the Japanese puku mask. And that's kind of counterintuitive. You would think that in a place where women mostly exclusively decide who gets to have children, that everyone would be very womanly and very pretty, but that's actually not the way that it works. Actually, when you towards the center of the patriarchy, where men are mostly the people who decide who gets to have babies, everyone becomes very feminine and very beautiful. Generationally speaking, procreative iterationally. I don't like using the word generational because it's too vague. So, when the blonde girl flies all around the world and she gets everything that she wants, she learns that she would like A, nostalgia, and B, personality, and C, a learning curve for being a parent. And if you would like a learning curve for dealing with a whiny baby, you get to a guy like Woody Allen. A learning curve for taking care of an ugly little wrinkly, selfish, screaming simpleton. Genius. Who is strangely beautiful when you look him in the eyes. Now, let us explain She-Hulk. You could say easily that She-Hulk is a girl who, when she becomes a Hulk, does not turn into a rage monster, but instead turns into a slut. That would be an easy way of describing it. You wouldn't have to work too hard on that one. But then we get to the question of, well, what happens is that simple idea gets complicated and degraded, and in the statement that women are oppressed, and that when she becomes a Hulk, that she becomes liberated. But wait a second. Wait 1 second. Jennifer Walters is not a housewife. She's a lawyer. She was a lawyer before she became the Hulk. Pause. Be right with you. Okay. So the problem with making any Hulk story is the psychological and sociological considerations. I don't want to go too much into why we cannot have a Hulk movie. you know, we can't have a Hulk movie because we're not in a cultural place where we can admit that to be a man is to be a outlaw or a fugitive. It used to be a normal idea. The A-Team, Running Man, The Island, The Prisoner, The Fugitive. This was just a normal idea. You would go home, you would turn on the television, and you would watch another story about one guy all alone against everybody else. So that's one of the problems in making a Hulk movie. She-Hulk, on the other hand, is a little bit more complicated. As I was saying, Jennifer Walters is not a housewife. She's a lawyer. So what oppression does she have? Well, a man, if he gets into a fight, might get his physical self damaged. But if he's the Hulk, he always heals. He's indestructible and very strong. And if you are going to be honest, or if you're going to be faithful, this is funny. If you're going to be faithful to the comic, She-Hulk is a slut. She's not a sexually liberated woman. She's actually a little bit out of control. She's actually a little bit enslaved to her desires, to her base desires. She ends up with guys like, actually she ends up with any kind of guy. She ends up with Tony Stark, Juggernaut, anybody, really. Some really handsome Native American guy. And that's about it. That's really all I have to say about She-Hulk. I do have one last thing to say about She-Hulk. She would not be twerking with Megan Thee Stallion because she would be Megan Thee Stallion in the sense that she would not tolerate another liberated girl. She wouldn't need someone else to show her how to do it. The same way the Hulk would not need somebody else to show him how to be angry.